Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Columbia Association Board of Directors for tonight, April 23rd, 2026. Before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I want to briefly address what took place during our closed session earlier this evening. The Columbia Association's ethics panel, established to ensure the highest standards of ethical conduct within Columbia Association's leadership, including the Board of Directors and senior leadership team, is comprised of 3 independent attorneys with no affiliation with or interest in CA. The panel submitted an ethics investigation report and recommendations to the Board of Directors on April 9th. The Board of Directors met in closed session on April 14th to consider that report and those recommendations. Further, in accordance with CA's bylaws and its process for considering alleged violations of the Code of Business Conduct and Policies, the members of CA, the persons on the Board of Directors, as the Columbia Council, convened in closed session earlier this evening to take final action on those recommendations. I want to be transparent. Action was taken during that closed session that affects the composition of this board. As a result of that action, Reg Avery, Karen Emery, and Aaron Berg are no longer serving in their capacity as CA board members or as members of the Columbia Council. They are welcome to remain in the room as members of the public, but I would please ask you to move from this public seating area at this time so we can proceed.
Point of order?
You're not a member of this board, so you're not recognized.
He is still a member of the board. He is still a member of the board.
The details of the ethics investigation, including the panel's findings and the basis for this evening's action, were handled in closed session. In doing so, the board followed CA's bylaws and ethics policies and rules regarding confidentiality.
No, you did not.
And acted.
Members of the Columbia Association met in closed session to remove board members and disenfranchise 3 villages.
Please leave the dais.
Answer his question though. How many votes?
How many votes do you have?
How many votes did you get, Colin?
Are you afraid to do that?
How many
people, how many members voted?
We'll be asking for it.
Thank you, Kevin.
What you did is wrong and you know it. Keep smiling.
Somebody should step up for him.
Okay. We will re-adjourn now and come back to the meeting.
Are you green?
Yes, I think, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As I was saying, the details of the ethics investigation, including the panel's findings and the basis for this evening's action, were handled in closed session. In doing so, the board follows CA's bylaws and ethics policies and rules regarding confidentiality and acted pursuant to the law. At this present time, I cannot provide further details of that ethics determination. I recognize this is an unusual moment, and I want to acknowledge that directly. This board takes its obligations to the Columbia Association and the Columbia community seriously, and that includes maintaining the integrity of our governance. Tonight's action reflects that commitment. We have a full agenda this evening and important work to do, and I'd like to proceed with that now. As always, tonight's meeting will be conducted in alignment with CEA's Board Operating Procedures, Code of Ethics, our Civility Policy, and Robert's Rules of Order. Board members will be recognized up to 2 speaking terms, with priority given to those who have not yet spoken. To help us stay aligned with our civility policy and maintain an orderly discussion, please direct all remarks through the chair rather than to one another, and refrain from personal or derogatory comments about other board members. Let's engage respectfully, stay focused on the agenda, and work toward productive outcomes for our community. I will now call the roll. Ashley? Here. Bill?
Here.
Delilah?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Wes? Sky?
Here.
And I am here. Sean?
Here.
Very good. A reminder to everyone joining us in person that audio and video of tonight's meeting are being broadcast live to YouTube and will be available for review later this evening. Anyone using the link to the meeting on CA's website will be able to see and hear the proceedings. If you haven't already, please silence any phones or other noise-making devices. And for board members, just a reminder to turn your mic on when speaking and off when not. Tonight's timekeeper will be Mike. And now we go to the announcement of closed and special meetings held and to be held. Switching screens, apologies. CA's Risk Management Committee held a closed meeting on April 9th at 6:40 p.m. at CA headquarters. Present were committee members Michael Golibersuch, Sean McInnes, and Senior Vice President of Finance Sean McCullum, and General Counsel Judge John Kuchno were also present. The closed meeting was authorized under Maryland Homeowners Association Act, Maryland Code Real Property, Section 11B, 111, Section 4, consultation with staff personnel, consultants, attorneys, board members, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation or other legal matters. CA's Board of Directors held a closed meeting on April 14th, 2026 at 7 p.m. at CA headquarters. Members present were Sky Anderson, Reg Avery, Karen Emery, Michael Golibersuch, Eric Greenberg, Delilah Holmes, Bill Santos, Colin Sullivan, and Ashley Vaughn. Staff present were President and CEO Sean McInnes and General Counsel Judge John Kuchno. The vote to close the meeting was 7-0. The meeting was closed according to Maryland Code Section 11B-111, Section I, discussion of matters pertaining to employees and personnel, Section 3, consultation with legal counsel on legal matters, and Section 4, consultation with staff, personnel, consultants, attorneys, board members, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation or other legal matters. CA's members met in the Columbia Council and held a closed meeting on April 23rd, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. at CA headquarters. Members present were Sky Anderson, Reg Avery, Karen Emery, Michael Golibersuch, Eric Greenberg, Delilah Holmes, Bill Santos, Colin Sullivan, and Ashley Vaughn. Staff present were President and CEO Sean McInnes and General Counsel Judge John Kuchno. The vote to close the meeting was 6-3-0. The meeting was closed according to Maryland Code Section 11B-111, Section I, discussion of matters pertaining to employees and personnel, consultation with legal counsel on legal matters, and Section 4, consultation with staff personnel, consultants, attorneys, board members, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation or other legal matters. We now move to a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have anyone to approve the agenda?
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda with a amendment.
Okay.
I would like to add immediately after this is a new item 4, publication of the ethics panel's reports for 5 minutes.
Okay, so Mike is moving the agenda as presented with an amendment for a new item 4 for the publication of the ethics panel's report discussion.
Second.
Second from Ashley. Any discussion? Bill?
Thank you, Colin. With respect to the amendment, that would be the report and all of the attachments?
This is just the agenda.
Okay, okay. We'll pick it up then. Thanks.
Yes. Any other discussion? Okay, again, so the motion on the floor is the approval of the agenda with,
Just to clarify, I assume that when and if those documents are released, they're subject to appropriate redactions for confidential and attorney-client or work product information.
So John, we're just amending the agenda right now.
Okay.
We're not actually.
All right.
I think we're all on the same boat, though. Any other questions or discussion about the agenda? Okay, again, the motion on the floor is the approval of the agenda with new item 4 for the publication of the ethics panel's report. A vote yes will pass the agenda as such. Ashley?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Delilah?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sky?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 6 in, yes, 6 in favor. The motion carries. Okay, so now we're on the quasi-new item 4. Is there any motions that anyone would like to make? Mike?
I move to release the ethics panel 2604 and 2602 and any directly related documents with redactions as appropriate to comply with legal, personal, and confidential obligations as determined by our counsel.
That was lengthy.
Second.
I'm happy to repeat it if folks need it. So again, it would effectively is the release of the ethics panel FY 2604 and 02, supporting documents as redacted, deemed necessary by legal. If I can add a friendly, well, actually, no, sorry, I'm good.
And can I?
Yeah, Mike?
So I think it's best practice that when people, whether it's board members or staff, are dismissed for ethical reasons, that we respect their confidentiality and not release their, kind of air their dirty laundry. I think that's just generally respectful. But just so everyone knows, in the closed meeting upstairs, we asked Karen, Eric, and Reg if they wanted to be able to discuss this publicly, and they all said yes. So that is a big part of why we are doing this now, is they have asked us to.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this amendment?
Just a question for staff. There are going to be questions about this in the neighborhood for sure. And I'm just looking, what rough timeline, not anything to hold anybody at 100% accountable to, but are we talking about a week? Are we talking about a month? Where are we?
Sean?
We can have it posted in the morning.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ashley?
Yeah, kind of just furthering what Mike had said, usually it wouldn't be something that is shared, and obviously there's past examples where any removal hasn't been shared if it hasn't all been voted on and the interested parties getting to participate. But part of our updates to the ethics policy is focused on transparency with the community and understanding the role that each board member is playing, how they're contributing to the board, and the difference that they're making in the community. And so when there's a substantiated ethics complaint, it makes sense for the community members to have an opportunity to be aware, and we are certainly not trying to do anything behind closed doors. It's more focused on sticking to the policies and procedures that we have in place and finding the places where we can be the most transparent about anything that does happen in closed meetings.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion on the floor? Okay, just a reminder, the motion on the floor is to release ethics panel FY 2604 and 02, supporting documents with redactions as necessarily determined by legal. Is that, okay. Okay, I'm going to call the roll, so a vote yes will do that. Ashley?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Delilah?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sky?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 6 in favor. The motion passes. If folks will humor me for just a moment, as I mentioned at the beginning of tonight's meeting, before we began our open session, we held a closed meeting of the members of the Columbia Association. This meeting was needed to address an investigation that concluded multiple members of the board of directors violated our code of conduct and failed to uphold their fiduciary duties. That meeting was held in a closed session in accordance to Maryland Code Section 11B-101, Section 1, discussion of matters pertaining to employees and personnel, Section 3, consultation with legal counsel on legal matters, and Section 4, consultation with staff personnel, consultants, attorneys, board members, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation or other legal matters. The events that led to this situation cover several months. Board members are already familiar with those events, but because this is the first time these issues have been discussed publicly, I will provide a summary of the relevant timeline. I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but again, this might take a few minutes. On September 18th, 2025, the board met in a closed session to discuss 3 related topics. First, the importance of ethical, professional, and respectful behavior. Second, the impact that failing to meet those standards have on the organization and the community. And third, to emphasize the importance of the board of directors holding each other to reasonable standards of conduct. This closed session highlighted multiple examples of Mr. Greenberg's failures to meet these standards of behaviors, highlighted the costs those failures had imposed upon the organization, and was intended to encourage Mr. Greenberg to avoid similar actions in the future. This session was closed in accordance with Maryland's HOA Act out of respect for Mr. Greenberg's privacy and to respect the privacy of other affected personnel. The following week, on September 25th, the board passed a new ethics policy and code of conduct. This policy was passed to help uphold high standards of behavior for board members and provide more clarity on reporting and sanctions for violating the code of conduct. At Ms. Emery's request, and with unanimous support of the board, the new code of conduct explicitly prohibited board members from weaponizing the ethics process and filing frivolous or retaliatory accusations of violating the code of conduct. On September 26th, the day after passing the new ethics policy, Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery jointly filed an ethics complaint that alleged Mr. Santos and myself had violated the code of conduct. Specifically, they alleged that the memo shared during the September 18th meeting had improperly disclosed confidential information about Mr. Greenberg that only Mr. Santos and myself had access to. This allegation was forwarded to CA's independent ethics panel. It's important to note again that this ethics panel consists of 3 attorneys with no interest in CA or CA's board of directors. The ethics panel decided the complaint filed jointly by Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery warranted further investigation. The ethics panel then acquired the services of a separate independent law firm with no stakes in CA to conduct the investigation. That investigation took several months and concluded on December 24th. The ethics panel found that neither Mr. Santos nor myself had violated the code of conduct. The investigator concluded that the allegedly confidential information was already common knowledge to everyone who participated in the September 18th meeting. The investigation further concluded that the allegation was filed frivolously and likely in retaliation for actions Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery disagreed with. The ethics panel report related to this complaint will be made publicly available. While the results of this investigation were initially only shared with the disinterested members of the board, so those who neither filed the complaint nor who were subjects of the complaint, the results were eventually shared with the remainder of the board on January 8th, 2026. On January 9th, one day after receiving the report, I filed a complaint alleging that Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery had violated the code of conduct. Specifically, that their previous allegation violated the provision of weaponizing the ethics policy, filing frivolous claims, and using it for retaliation. My allegation was forwarded again to the independent ethics panel, which again agreed an investigation was warranted and acquired the services of the independent law firm to conduct the investigation. That investigation took several months and was provided to the disinterested members of the board on April 9th. The interested board members were provided the report on April 11th. The ethics panel found that Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery had violated the code of conduct by filing a frivolous and retaliatory ethics complaint. The ethics panel further concluded that Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery had actively sought to interfere in the conduct of that investigation. The details of these findings are documented in the report, which again will be made publicly available. The ethics panel also acted within the scope of the ethics panel charter and recommended sanctions. Because of the attempts to interfere with the ethics investigation itself, they concluded that serious misconduct that amounted to failing to uphold their fiduciary duty had occurred and recommended that Mr. Greenberg, Mr. Avery, and Ms. Emery be removed from CA's board of directors. Again, this ethics panel has no stake in CA and no interest in the policy decisions or disputes of the board of directors. This recommendation was based on their professional opinion that those 3 board members violated the code of conduct and failed to uphold their fiduciary duties to the Columbia Association. No members of the board nor any member of staff had influence over the ethics panel's recommendation. The board met in a closed session on April 14th to discuss the ethics panel's reports and recommendations. The disinterested members of the board in attendance, Ms. Vaughn, Dr. Holmes, Ms. Anderson, Mr. Santos, and Mr. Glebersuch, agreed to accept the recommendations of the ethics panel. Our ethics policy prohibited interest members of the board, so myself, Mr. Greenberg, Mr. Avery, and Ms. Emery, from voting in that decision. Our ethics process requires that any member who are recommended for removal be allowed to ask the board to reconsider the removal decision. All 3 board members were provided that opportunity, both in person, and were told they could provide further requests for reconsideration in writing. None of the 3 elected to provide written requests for reconsideration. Although the board of directors and the members of the Columbia Association are the same people, the removal of a board member requires that we convene as members of the Columbia Association. The meeting of the members of the Columbia Association held a few minutes ago was called for the purposes of allowing the disinterested members of the association to make a final determination on whether to implement the recommendation of the ethics panel. The disinterested members of the Columbia Association unanimously voted to implement the recommendation of the ethics panel. Mr. Greenberg, Mr. Avery, and Ms. Emery are no longer members of the Columbia Association Board of Directors. Their respective village boards may use whatever internal process they choose to appoint a new member to the Columbia Council. It should be noted that our ethics policy precludes any individual who is removed from the board because of an ethics violation from being reappointed in the future. Throughout this process, the board acted as quickly as possible. The length of the 2 investigations by the ethics panel, which each lasted about 3 months, was not subject to board oversight, though it is possible that the interference of Mr. Greenberg, Ms. Emery, and Mr. Avery delayed the 2nd investigation. Again, all the documents and timeline I just described will be made available to the public in the coming days. I apologize for speaking so long, but I do believe that this was important context and to maintain transparency for our community. Thank you for bearing with me on reading all of that. Let's go to the Columbia update.
All right. So we have some positive news tonight to present in the Columbia update. First up is Julie Miller, our Director of Communications and Public Relations, is going to update the board on CA's new strategic communications plan. The board has heard me mention in the past, so in this day and age, it is hard to get information out and contact people. CA as an organization, as we've grown, have more of a need to get our information out to as many people as possible, as many entities and media concepts as possible, but also we need to do a better job of advocating for Columbia Association within the community, within the county, within the state. So Julie Miller has, in her new role, she's been here since December, has put together a strategic communications plan for us, and we wanted to present that to the board just for information purposes only, but just to see where we're going as an organization communications-wise.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I just want to start with giving a little bit of background on what our communications team has done historically and to give you the context of what we'll be building upon. So what we do is focused here on the screen. There's supposed to be some more icons, but they're missing for some reason, but you still get the picture. So we help build the brand for CA with our style guide, which helps us kind of be on the same page in how we're using grammar and how we're saying things, our brand voice. So our team established that as kind of a baseline effort to get our branding and our communications really cleaned up a few years ago. We lead our social media. We have 35,000 followers across 3 channels. We also do a lot of email engagement, working with our partners in marketing to let people know what's happening in the community and different ways that they can engage with the community. We do a lot of work with community engagement, supporting events and engaging with our community on social media, like I said. and really dynamic storytelling. So that shows up on social media. It's starting to show up more and more on the website. We have a great videographer and editor on our staff who does really wonderful stories you probably see on our social media. We do amazing written content as well, bragging for my team a little bit, but just a really strong foundation to build upon as we start to look at new communications initiatives that are outlined in this plan. So also missing some icons. Hopefully there's not much else missing, but you still get the picture. So we're approaching our 60th year, and it's really ample time to just put our story together and elevate and refine our message, own our narrative, and engage with the next generation of Columbians. So Jim Rouse was an expert communicator and marketer. We're kind of pulling in some things that are at our foundation to tell our story the way that was done at our founding, but in a new way. So this communications plan that I developed with my team is designed for impact. As soon as I started, even when I was interviewing, it was clear to me my goal, and the goal for this department was to increase understanding of CA and the value that it provides to the community. So that is our number one charge, and that is everything that we do as a unit comes back to that. We want to position Columbia Association as forward-thinking. I'm sure you hear Sean talk about the future all the time in this room. We want to think about what's next, and the communications plan should really be supporting that. Our desired outcomes are greater comprehension and brand awareness of CA, greater online experience and engagement, and generate positive feelings about Columbia's future and pride among our residents. So we'll start with some key messages. We talked about the future. We're very focused on the future. Everything we do is kind of looking at, what's next? How does Columbia grow? So, there's a lot of symbolism in growing in our future, in our history. So you look at the people tree, you look at the Bloom logo that we have now, and you look at Jim Rouse's quotes, a garden for growing people. He talks about growth in so many ways. So that growth message will be looking at how can we incorporate that type of messaging into our speeches, PR opportunities, thematic videos, advertising, website copy, reports, everywhere. We'll be kind of going back to that message framework. And then there's also unified messaging across the organization. So there's so many messages that are put out that our community needs to know, from a community ops perspective to programming. So we're just really amplifying that style guide and making sure our staff is familiar with it and understands how to use it and why it's important. We're finding ways internally to streamline messaging and make sure we're going out with the same voice. So just getting our teams up to speed on how we talk and making sure things are coming through communication so it's really cleaned up and consistent. And we're making our own news. This is something we've always created content on our social media channels, but we're being more intentional with making news around it and putting out stories that kind of lead our story and don't respond as much, and also complement the human storytelling that we do, just with more like news making. So top initiatives for our communications plan. First is the podcast. I'm glad that image showed. So the Between Villages podcast is a podcast for the Columbia community brought to you by the Columbia Association. This is a really exciting project. Our team has people who have worked in audio and multimedia and some really dynamic personalities who can tell our stories and engage with our community in a podcast in a really meaningful way. So each episode will dive into one question. This will be really community focused and not necessarily a question about how do our pools operate or how do we do this, but really general interest to the community so that it takes off as a really interesting podcast. Our team's already deep into research with our archives and with other people in the community to research topics. The goal of this is to share authentic stories, foster community, and build long-term relationships on a flexible on-demand format. So we have the places to promote this. People are walking around trails or at the gym. We can say, hey, pop in a podcast, connect with your community. It's just a really nice way to engage young Columbians, younger Columbians with new ways that they use media. Second major initiative is branding and merchandising. So Columbia Association has great brand assets. So a beautiful logo, colors that are consistent. We've done a great job for Columbia Association to look really consistent and to elevate the association. But really what we want to focus on with this is some pride building for the place you live. So elevating Columbia. As you can see, these examples here, life is great in 21228. Everyone's probably seen that Catonsville bumper sticker. The OBX just says OBX, it's everywhere. I Heart City Life, just really elevates Baltimore. So we want to look at ways that we can create something or build off of some things we might already have to merchandise this, to get bumper stickers, to get people to have something that they have a sense of belonging to. Because at the end of the day, everything that's great about Columbia, not everything, but a lot of things that are great about Columbia are driven by Columbia Association. And that's how we tie ourselves in. And there might be some colors or other nods to Columbia Association, but really this is about building pride in the place that you live. We also want to do more multimedia campaigns that are really intentional about selling our value. So we do a lot of multimedia already, that's storytelling, but we're going to be using storytelling in a different way that might have voiceover and really compelling, emotionally charged images that just really engage the audience and, again, make them feel connection to the place that they live and really proud to live in Columbia. We do have a preview of this, but I'm going to end with it because it might break up the flow of the presentation and the text. So stay tuned at the end. So media outreach. We are starting to, and always have, but just be a little bit more intentional with our media relations strategy. So engaging with key media partners, finding opportunities to tell the stories about what we're doing in our community, not just about the hard news, but about the great feature stories of what's happening here. Our sustainability stories, the people stories that are, people that come to our facilities and change for the better and how we're playing a role in that. So we're just kind of getting really comfortable with reaching out to media, have 15 or 20 who we're talking to regularly and pitching story ideas to, and just make sure in the region and locally we are in the spotlight. And that's another great way to secure pride and third-party validation and just create awareness for CA. And even national media. This is a tougher nut to crack, but we're already in national media for our reputation. We are in rankings all the time for being family-friendly and a great place to work and a great place to live. So we're being recognized. We want to take that to the next level of why is it such a great place to raise a family? Why is it a great place to work? And back to Jim Rouse and his efforts initially, there's a famous cover of him on Time magazine. We can go back to, hey, you talked about us 6 years when we were starting, and let's revisit where we're at now. So just kind of keeping in mind different ways that we can elevate Columbia on the national level. So a lot of this is going to be collaborative too. So I want to talk about the collaboration that we'll be doing with our partners in marketing particularly. Starting with our website, and really the website is an organization-wide collaboration. Dan talked about this a few weeks ago. Communications will have a greater role in website than we ever have before. We'll really be helping with that content strategy as we transition from one website to another. You can see now, even from the last few months, we've been a lot more intentional on our homepage and storytelling and connecting people to Columbia with some rotating content right on that homepage feature. So it's not necessarily promotional. It's you can get to some promotional stuff pretty quickly, but it's really just creating a sense of place with great photography and showcasing what you can do as a CA member or a community member that lives here. So really with the website update, website redo, we'll be really involved with making sure the information is clear. People can take action very quickly by using our website. We have unified messaging, compelling stories, and our website user experience is top-notch. So we're also growing and aligning content. So what we do in communications is very similar to what marketing does. They're very focused on inspiring people to take action. So sign up for a class, get a membership. And they're hyper-focused and doing a great job of that. We are a little bit more what we like to call like meaning making. So give people connection to us. So traditionally, the channels that we do those on have been a little bit segmented, but we've formed a great partnership with our teammates in marketing to not think of it as your email and our email, but our email. So we can promote things in the same email where we're sharing news. And our social media channels can kind of talk about everything that we have to do a little more holistically, and also on the website, and that will make its way into paid advertising too, where paid advertising isn't just buy something, do something, but feel something, you know, be proud of where you live. We also think it's really important to target new movers and renters. So this group of people that come to Columbia, we want to get them as soon as they come in, and as soon as they are here, as soon as possible, to understand what we are before their perception of what CA is or does is inaccurate. So there is an old Welcome to Columbia packet floating around. I think it's at the front desk behind me. It's a very informational packet, but it's a little dated. It's got a print map, and it's got all these papers, and we want to refresh that for 2026 to be, you know, QR codes and quick scans and really conversational. So that's one initiative we want to lead. We also want to collaborate with the Howard County Association of Realtors. So we know realtors are first person someone might talk to about moving to Columbia. We want to make sure they understand who we are and they can help sell instead of saying, you know, the wrong thing or making people feel that it's not a great place to live. We want to show them what the value is that people get when they buy a home here in Columbia. And then renters as well. Our sales team already has a great pipeline to get into the renters. We'll just be looking at, instead of always thinking about it from the sales angle, think about it from the lifestyle and living perspective. So we're also going to launch a couple work groups. As I mentioned before, there's a 60th birthday right around the corner. So we're meeting internally to talk about what that looks like and how CA and the rest of the community and our partners can show up for the community. So this, the 50th, I know was a huge deal, a lot of collaboration, a lot of efforts. 60th is 60, it's not 50, but we'll still be doing some things and pulling together what the community is doing and showcasing that we're celebrating our future. So we're talking about what that is in terms of messaging, events, marketing, and just demonstrating what we're doing as a community to prepare for our next 60 years. So there's an internal working group, and then community engagement will start to talk with external partners on how we can all collaborate on that. We are also launching the CA Listening Lab. So I was part of the Millennial Advisory Committee a decade ago, almost. If about that, I think it's been about that long. So that was a great forum for, at the time, everyone was trying to figure out millennials, right? Well, now there's some millennials at the table, and you know, what's next? There's some work to do with millennials, but millennials and younger, we want to tap into them in a really informal way. So the Listening Lab is meant to be an ongoing focus group session. So instead of forming, you know, you got to go to a meeting late at night and, you know, we're going to present to you, we just want to hear from you. You know, we might set out some light snacks, and we're going to create some fun, engaging opportunities for you to give us feedback in a not formal way. So that's the idea behind the Listening Lab, is to connect with the next generation of Columbians and get their feedback to guide our programming, our marketing, and our communication strategies, and just showcase how we're available to listen to this demographic. So that's a lot. Here's a timeline on how we're going to kick all of this off. It's not all going to happen at once, but here are some milestones. We've already gotten to work on a lot of this, and we will be busy through the end of the year and into the future. So on that note, if I can ask for the video, I mentioned throughout the presentation that we have a video This video will show before movies at the Lakefront. It's meant to be almost like a commercial for CA and for Columbia. And parts of this might be used in advertising in the summer as well. And of course, shared on social media and on the website. So I'll let you click there.
Summer memories aren't made of days. They're made of moments. The moments that excite us, that inspire us, that encourage us. The moment you took a deep breath and finally tried the deep end. The moment you took a swing at something new, hit a milestone, discovered a passion that stayed with you. The moments that grounded you today and quietly planted roots for tomorrow. The moments when you danced like no one was watching, because here, it felt safe to be yourself. And the moments you realized it really does take a village, and you have one. Moments become memories. Memories live forever. All summer long, they happen right here in the heart of Columbia. Make memories with CA.
So we have one shot that's going to be replaced in the middle. My videographer Joe's like, I don't have the shot yet. I want somebody at the stage looking out, onto the water. So we had a placeholder there. But that is the essence of what we're going forward with this summer, to just kind of make people feel really proud and connected to the place that they live. So that's everything I have on the communications plan, and I'm open for questions.
No one is teary-eyed up here either.
You may recognize that narrator voice.
Yeah,
as our own Robin Stimson.
Robin for narration for her everything. So
didn't even get credits. Robin, but.
Mike.
This is all great. I really look forward to it. The timeline you showed, I assume that's calendar year and not fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Delilah.
I'm excited about the efforts to engage new movers and renters. Mm-hmm. The Welcome to Columbia packet, is that going to be offered to both tenants and homeowners, or just still go to homeowners?
We haven't really outlined like the distribution plan, but yes, that would ideally be renters, and maybe there's a version just for renters that is there. And so I think the problem with that is we're kind of at the mercy of
landlords,
the landlords or the property manager who, I think, we've done a little bit of this in the past, and it's like, is it really getting to people? So I think with some more strategic engagement, our June, who leads our sales efforts, is already setting up tables, in the big, some of the big apartment buildings. So connecting there with this type of material and making a connection beyond just like, please set this out, please distribute this.
So this would be provided by CA to the landlords, the manager. Okay, so that it would not be on their responsibility to come and collect the materials or anything like that.
Do you have some?
Yeah, so we're actually working right now on creating a web portal. It's in the process of being created, where rather than get materials out to everybody, that we'll just update it every month. The property managers and business owners will have links, and they can pull down what they want. So we're trying to remove some of the friction from that process. So we struggle with the same thing, and the property managers change all the time, so it's just easier. Tim and June are working, and the marketing team are working on creating that kind of portal where we can make that distribution easier.
Great. Thank you so much.
Ashley?
Great. I love this, obviously, so I'm really excited to see how all of these different initiatives come up. I'm going to touch on a variety of things. I'm not expecting to have all of the answers to them right now, but it was the thoughts that came up. For podcasts, I know a lot of the struggles for folks listening to it is if it's not on one of the more popular platforms, right, like being able to listen to it on Apple or Spotify, things like that. So I'm curious if we've thought about what sort of platform it'll be available on, and then if it is, obviously there's advertisers if you're on those platforms. So if that's something that we've considered, and also I know transcript isn't always available with every podcast, but it's super important in terms of accessibility and more folks being able to use it. The swag, just personally, can we make sure we have some magnets and not all stickers?
Yes, magnets for sure.
Wonderful, love it. Welcome packet, I've definitely like I remember being there when Chris, the receptionist, would hand out the welcome packets. And so I'm excited to see that like upgrader become, more current. But thinking of folks like my dad, they don't do QR codes and whatnot. So I'm hoping that we're going to maintain materials that are still physical that we can give to those folks who definitely don't use their phones to like look at maps and things like that. And then finally, listening lab. I'm really curious how the audience will be targeted for that, the recruitment, et cetera. So.
Yes, so I'll try to catch all of that. The team has been in the weeds on researching. I mean, that was one of my first questions is if you build it, they will not come, right? You can make a podcast, but that doesn't mean anybody's going to listen to it, right? So they're researching, streaming partners to, I don't know the ins and outs necessarily of like how it gets from point A to point B, but they're very aware of, that needs to be a critical part of making sure we're getting it out to people on platforms that they already are on. So I think we'll have that covered. Definitely magnets, not stickers, maybe a sticker component if somebody wants it for their computer. Your last question, the listening lab. Yeah, so I think, I tried to remember actually with the Millennial Advisory, I think I filled out a Facebook link form. So there's already some established organizations around town where I think we can start. So young professionals groups through the chamber would be good to start with. There's a meetup group, Columbia Young Professionals meetup.
Joe's group.
Yes, it's got 800, I don't know, many young professionals. So I think we can start intentionally with people that like are engaging and already doing that kind of thing, and then see what kind of turnout we get. We will be asking people to give their address so we can confirm that they are in Columbia.
Got it. Okay.
And hopefully we can get representation across all areas of Columbia, but we really want it to be informal where, people can, we might do one session and say, oh, well, that was a little heavy on this village. And then, next time we're going to hone in on another village and just kind of make sure we're representative across the board. So if that answers your question.
So it may not be the same folks that return to each listening.
Ideally, it would be a different set of people. I just don't know really what to expect from the turnout. If 50 people say, I want to do this, like, okay, great, let's do one with 25, another 25. If 10 people want to do it, we'll take what we can get and just kind of adjust and go from there. We think this informal, almost like the meetings they might already be doing, where we can host one of them and provide some food and take over for an hour. And so maybe there's some collaboration we can do with that. But
swag incentives to give them.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. I love it.
Sky?
I thought that was all just absolutely great. I have a couple of questions. Rather than disseminating information to property managers and those, had you considered distributing it to the villages? It would strengthen the village relationship with CA.
Sure.
And my village has been doing that for the last 3 years or so. And secondly, and you kind of intimated at this of highlighting one village and then highlighting another village until you have them all. That's just an idea for a series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, the distribution plan isn't quite outlined. This is one that's a little further down the road, but yeah, we'll have a full distribution plan working with the villages, even asking the villages to share with their networks or recommend people who could be on that listening lab. So definitely part of the mix.
Anything else for Julie? John?
That was great.
All right. Thank you, Julie.
Yep.
All right, so
while we transition, can we get 15 more minutes? We're almost out of time.
Oh, yeah.
15?
Well, you're asking. Yeah, how about 20 minutes?
20?
Yes.
Do we have a motion for an additional 20 minutes?
Motion.
Ashley?
Second.
Second. Any objection? Okie doke.
It'll be well worth it. So next up, as you know, last year we modified some of the programming down at the Lakefront area, and I had some of the members of that team come in. So we have a big collaborative effort. Last year was Chris Clem, Robin Simpson, and at the time our communications director. Well, we had a lot of success last year with diversifying the programming and engagement, and now in the spirit of collaboration like we have here at CA, we expanded the team. So now we have an internal programming team that consists of Robin Simpson, our Senior Community Engagement Manager, Chris Clem, our Open Space Manager, Grace Celestine, who is our new event logistics specialist, Julie Miller, who you know very well, and also now here is Lauren Morris, who is our communication outreach specialist. This is a team that we meet bi-weekly, really dedicated group to making this summer programming happen at the Lakefront. I said this last year, but it is no small feat, and there's a lot of intention behind it. There's a lot of planning. Everything down to a T is really organized, and these guys do an amazing job at it. And on top of that, they are super creative, so they come up with these great ideas. So they're here to present the summer programming.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am Robin Stimson, Senior Community Engagement Manager for Columbia Association. Happy to be here. Want to start talking, when we talk about programming at the Lakefront, wanted to really dive into a little bit about our partnership and our intentionality there and why that matters so much. So Columbia Association Lakefront, it is considered widely the welcome mat of Columbia by many people in the community. Everyone wants to be there. Everyone has memories, like we just saw in that beautiful video, of things that they've done with their families. So it's really important for us when creating events and initiatives and programs to keep that in mind and wanting it to be very impactful. So the association, Columbia Association Lakefront, is vital to foster that sense of belonging and welcoming to everyone who comes out. And that's really important to us. We take that very seriously. We also, in looking at our programming and offerings, we want to make sure it's representative of our diverse community. And that can be anything from the movies that we're showing to, the types of music that we're playing under Dancing Under People Tree. We really lean a lot into what our community, the makeup of our community, and making sure that we serve them well in that way. We activated a high level of operational excellence. Everywhere I go, I hear from people in the community that just rave and rave and rave about our open space team. We could not do any of the things that we do without their hard work and commitment and dedication. So that's really important to us to make sure that we land that plane. And then highlight CA's role in serving those who live, work, and play in Columbia. Let me change it. So when we think of community engagement and programming, there has to be some guiding stars, some guideposts for us. One of those is to maintain CA's position as an area institution. When we think about the Lakefront, and if it is the welcome mat in the community for everyone, for anyone that's coming to enjoy one of our many offerings, it's very important that it meets that high level of standards for that, meaning we have people coming in from out of town, people who are here to see something at Merriweather, and then, we want to make sure that we are matching, if not exceeding, what is happening around us with our partners in the community. Art is a community builder and convener. That is very important for us. We have a ton of credibility in that space for many years. Our Art Center, Lake Fest, many of the different programs and events that we've done. It is very powerful. It's the one language that we can all speak together: music, art, dance. So that's very important. Pillars of wellness guide a lot of what we see and how we show up. So our pillars of wellness are listed: mental, physical, social, intellectual, and environmental. So any of our programs and things that we're doing at the Lakefront, we want to make sure that at least one of, if not many, of those pillars of wellness are represented in the work that we do. We want to engage and support our young people in the community. That's school-aged and teens. So what are the types of programming that they're interested in, or what kinds of spaces are we creating for our young people? That's really important. We want to promote the power of social connection with CA. We just did a Change in Columbia a couple weeks ago and talked about loneliness as being a huge issue, not only in this community, but regionally and nationally around the world. So we know that building these events and creating space for people to come together is very, very important for the health and overall well-being of our community. And elevating placemaking and the vital role of CA spaces. We talk a lot about the Lakefront, but that's not the only place that we have programs and not the only place we want to have programs. We have 3 beautiful lakes and ponds. We have 10 beautiful village centers, lots of opportunities for movie nights and pop-up engagement. So we have a lot of ideas, and we're looking forward to the future and ways to engage with our community in that way. The approach to community engagement. So if we are thinking about what kinds of programs and events that we want to have the Lakefront and beyond, it really does begin with our partnerships. We cannot do it all. We shouldn't do it all. We don't want to duplicate efforts. And many of our partners are reaching, or we would like to connect with, some of the audiences and populations that they reach as well. So it's really important to have a good relationship with our partners, to continue to communicate with them, and it is trust-based. What can you do? What can we do? How can we bring this amazing idea to fruition together? Which leads us to the next bullet point. What are we trying to achieve together? Making sure we ask that question. It isn't just about what CA can do or X other organization or entity or individual. It's what is that Venn diagram where we're trying to make sure that what CA is trying to achieve also elevates or complements what our partners are trying to achieve, and that's where we really find our impact. So we focus on organizations, program initiatives, and we look at them from a strength-based approach. So what are the things that they do well? Can we scaffold or support areas where there might be gaps? And really looking at our organizations holistically and not on a case-by-case basis. You know, who our partners were and how they showed up a year ago doesn't mean that's necessarily where they are today. We need to make sure that we're talking to them and understand the needs of what they're trying to achieve through our engagements, through our programming. If we're looking at social engagement and just fun, what kind of fun? How do we stay modern with that? How do we look at, again, where our young people are, where our families are in the community, and what they might be interested in, how they want to connect with us. So we really take a case-by-case basis and looking at all of those relationships. Frequent questions to get to those answers. Where are you? How are you trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve? If there's resources that you would like young people to have, or if there's information that you would like our local seniors to know about, how is the best way we can position that with what we do so that, again, it highlights the strengths of the organization, it highlights the strengths of our community building, and people leave with some clear takeaways and understand the impact of coming together for CA. They're guided by accessibility, addressing the needs in the community, and again, organizational alignment, making sure that there is, when we have the two organizations or more than two organizations, that there is that Venn diagram where we are all trying to achieve something together. And so we do have to look at that individually. So I've said a little bit of this, but you know, again, no one size fits all. We're always looking to improve. We're always reassessing, making sure, again, how are we understanding our partners and where they are? When we're thinking about building events, it's important to know what everybody's capacity are. What is our capacity? What are schedules? If we're thinking about movies, are other partners, neighbors, village centers, are they showing movies? How can we complement instead of duplicating efforts? So it's really important to take all of those on a case-by-case basis there. We could have tabling events where we're giving out information. We could have donation drives where we're collecting things for the community, showing that we are anticipating and understand the needs of the community and where they are. And here's how we at CA want to show up to support. Yes, we're having fun, we're dancing and listening to music, but also we're dropping off school supplies for kids in need. That is who we are. That's the culture of CA. So calls to action. Sometimes our partners are looking to connect either through volunteers or, again, where awareness campaigns. Those are part of the questions that we have initially when we're building and thinking about our programming for the Lakefront and beyond. Showcasing local talent. We have a ton of talented people here, a very strong arts community, and why not take advantage of that? We have for many years, and it has worked out very well for us. So continuing to highlight all of the individuals who are interested in performing and connecting with us, who have a deep history within Columbia and Howard County broadly. And then we provide some space, voice, and presence also. Sometimes it's just giving people, you know, like July 4th tends to be very busy. So how can we highlight some of the work that our partners are doing without them physically having a table at July 4th when there's so many people? Maybe it's QR codes that drive people to their respective organizations. Maybe they introduce some of the bands to talk about, you know, either the background of the performers and how it ties into the work they do or the audience that they're trying to reach. It's, again, goes back to that top line, no one size fits all, and really being creative with that. I'm going to hand it to Grace.
So I'm Grace Celestine. I'm the new events logistics specialist, but more than anything, simply put, I am Grace in events. As a member of our community, I am very well aware of the time-honored traditions here. When it comes to events down at the lake, Where can you go and see movies for free on a Friday? Where are you going to see Dance Under the People Tree? That is the community watering hole, if you will. People are very associated with these events, so we're excited to be bringing them back. What I really want to do, though, was bring a level of intentionality with it. With those movies, how can we also cater to different demographics? How can we partner with them with our featured events? So as our movie nights are on Friday nights, if a featured event lands the next day, could we pair Freakier Friday with Teen Night? Could we pair the Mitchells versus the Machines with Pride in July? Could we partner our Hoppers, which is the new Pixar sensation, with Back to School Night? It's those little elements in putting those events together that really create the overall picture. Now really kind of going into a refresh for some of our featured events as well. I came in very blessed to have a very sound structure. I've been to these events in the past, and now it's exciting to be a community member coming in and also being able to bring new elements to life for these events. So really, it's not only offering fresh takes on featured events, it's really providing an elevated experience. Events have changed drastically over the past 5 to 10 years. It's not just food and beverage anymore. It's about experience. What experiential elements can we bring to the table to make sure our community is engaging with one another? And that's where I started realizing, where can we actually find and source these activities? Look no further than our own CA programs. It's really giving visibility to some of our members of CA, where it's going to be offering mini golf at Teen Night, where we highlight our sports park. It's going to be offering Arctic air hockey, where our ice skating rink team members will be able to come out and engage with teens. Doing this throughout all of our featured events is really going to bring an elevated lift, and at the same time, it's no cost to CA. When it comes to partnership expansion, we have so many phenomenal members of our community that are neighbors down at that lakefront. Could Whole Foods come out and provide a hydration station at some of those hot summer headliner events? Could we partner with the collective to provide not only a beer garden, but also cater cocktails and mocktails for families alike for some of these events, to also provide that elevated lift, but also bolster the local economy? And we'll move on to some reimagined events as well. Of course, coming in, I always like to provide a little refresh on some classic takes as well. So it's also about creating structure. Everyone knows for movie nights, you go on Friday nights, but what about our other events? So I really wanted to re-envision our calendar to really kind of be the shepherd to the community, to show them where can they come at specific points in time to really kind of attend these events. So we made Family Fun Days our second Saturdays. Our featured events will always be on the fourth Saturday of the month. And then our weekend wind downs will also be on the final Sunday of the month. But really what I want to do is provide an elevated lift. So for Family Fun Days, for example, we can really kind of look at that event, and it's not just face painting, it's not just balloon artists, it's creating an event that's catered to a film. So for so many of these popular films that come out, it's not just one film, it's two. So why not have a double feature movie night building on a classic tradition while also catering to both a younger and newer demographic as well? So our first one will be in July. It is going to be on July 11th. On that Friday, we will show Wicked. And then on that Saturday, we'll show Wicked for Good. Ahead of that, we'll also be expanding our Family Fun Days to really kind of cater to elements that really bring out that film and create that family fun. Definitely more to come. I'm very excited to share all of these new reimagined events with you moving forward. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. But now I will hand it back to Chris Flem.
So thanks. Over the past several weeks, months, year, we've been talking about the Columbia Association Lakefront stage. Seen in front of you on those slides, there were pictures taken actually yesterday evening. So as you can see, it's really starting to look like the concept art at this point. I know Jeremy's done a good job kind of saying, you know, what's coming. So I'm here to tell you a little bit more about what is actually coming into that structure and how it's going to make these programs that Grace and Robin were just talking about easier for us to produce. So a new audio system. The audio system that we've had there, if any of you have ever been in band or audio production or video production, you know the equipment's heavy. It's also very expensive. So when you're moving it in and out multiple times every single week, it takes a toll on it. Well, our equipment that was there, and it's still there, is 20 years old. So it's time to do something new. We've been holding off because we knew the Columbia Lakefront stage was coming, but the new structure will have upgraded permanent sound installed that can be turned on at a moment's notice, which means when we do a lot of these new reprogrammed events, it's easier for staff to go and actually do that, and it doesn't cost the Columbia Association nearly as much to implement that. So our staff time is going to be drastically lowered. It will be state-of-the-art. It does have DSP, which is digitally sound production, which means no matter where you're standing, it's going to sound the same, which is really cool. Right now, we're analog, so it's 20-year-old equipment, so it doesn't have that capability. So it's going to be a whole new experience, too, which is great for all these events that we're talking about. The other thing that we're also doing is a cable run through the stage structure itself. Again, if you've ever worked in a band, or on any type of production, you know that cabling management is a big issue. If you have cables running across the middle of your stage and all over the place when you're doing art, as we're talking about with dance, is a form of art that possesses a hazard. This new structure will have that capability to have some of that already run, so when these artists and bands show up, they just plug in and they're ready to go. So it's a much shorter run to keep the stage nice and tight. A new projector. So we talked a lot about movies and how we're going to do some new things. Over the years, we've been doing movies at the Lakefront venue for well over 50 years. It started with a sheet hanging on the Whole Foods building. So that's kind of where we started. I'm happy to say that our new projector will have 4K capability, and it is going to be fairly large. We'll talk about the screen here in a few minutes. But we're very happy with what we're able to do there. It's not only for movies nights, though. Think about presentations that could be done there. But you can host a board meeting down there even, if you wanted to, right? So we'll have that capability, and it'll be permanently mounted. So it's going to be nice. But, presentations, bingo night, for example, it'd be very easy for staff to implement those types of events and bring that to the community at this brand new facility. Also, we will have a permanently mounted projection screen. In the past, I don't know if any of you have been down to see movies. I know Grace said that she has, but it takes a lot from our community operations open space team to put that screen up and take it down every movie night. It takes a minimum of 4 people to put that old screen up and to do it safely. Now they're going to hit a button and it's going to lower and it's ready to go. So it's really, really, one, safety is key. That's always first and most important. It's going to be safer for our staff, but also it's going to be 4 feet wider and 2 feet longer. So it's even bigger than the last screen that we did have there, which was an upgrade from the sheet, I will add, a couple years ago. So we're very excited for that. The other thing that we're doing is we will be upgrading and permanently mounted stage lighting, which will be DMX controlled. Again, if you've been in shows or if you've been to theater, you know that there's different stuff that happens on different stages, depending on what's going on, live music or arts and theater. Different things can happen. We will have permanent lighting installed that will be able to do that. So if you're down there for a concert, you can have the blinking lights. If you're down there for a meeting just like tonight, you can have it bright white and it will focus on all of us. So it's great that we'll have that flexibility and it will be permanently mounted. The other thing that will also be permanently mounted, similar to how the pavilion is now, the Columbia Association Lakefront Stage will also have enhanced accent lighting, and we will have the flexibility to change that lighting to reflect different things going on around in our community. For example, I see one of our board members tonight's wearing an orange shirt. June is mental. Anyway, gun violence to change certain aspects of the lakefront to different colors. The stage will also have that capability as well as other features around the lakefront. But it's just to create a different experience and to showcase this beautiful new asset for many years to come.
And June is gun violence awareness.
Gun violence, thank you.
Green is mental
Green
health
is mental,
awareness. Yeah.
that's it.
All right, so we'll finish up with, you good, Chris? We'll finish up with how we're building excitement for Lakefront Live. So there is a new Lakefront Live website. This is a kind of a microsite just for the event. We know how big the Columbia Association website is, and there's so many layers to that. When you try to force an event series within that, it got really lost. And when you try to navigate, now all of a sudden you're going back to the CA navigation. So the event series really needed a dedicated website to showcase everything that it really is. So the team, our marketing team, has been hard at work for like 3 months putting this together. It's not live yet, don't go look, but on May 1st, you should be able to see it at lakefrontlive.org. It's got a simple navigation, clear information. It really establishes a sense of place with photography, rich multimedia, those videos we talked about before, all over this website. Every event has features of the event that has happened before, so you can see what you're going to experience before you go down there. And you can learn about the artists that are there. It's really important. We're bringing artists in from all over the nation, and it's really important to elevate, who's coming and how important that is that we are bringing a really high level of art to our community and also recognizing our local artists as well. We'll be promoting this through paid, earned, and owned media. So paid media, advertising that's going to go out to the community. Earned media, we'll be doing our best to land some media coverage, get people down to the lakefront with cameras and tell people in the region to come down and experience Columbia. And then owned media, our social media, dedicated email campaigns, web features, all of that will keep the events top of mind to people who are already engaged with us. This is just a quick preview. I'm sure you see these graphics all over town. You'll start to see them again. We have a little calendar like what you get for the baseball schedule sometimes, a magnet that will be passed out at the ribbon cutting for those that will be there, and a select number at some facilities throughout CA. And then I think Grace touched on this a little bit, but Lakefront Live really showcases the best of CA. Through the activations that Grace is planning, we're able to get our programs and our facilities down on the lakefront and showcase everything that we're doing. That video that I showed before will be showing before every movie night, in addition to probably some other videos and other features to get people engaged in programs. And then I really wanted to talk about our street team. Bill, you asked about at the last presentation, somebody brought up the street team. So I'll give a little bit more context of what that is. This is a 20-person team that is pulled from all areas of the organization. It's managed by somebody on my team, but they all work in, some are front desk, some are, doing things all over the place. So they are the most engaged and excited staff that we have, and they go out to these events and they represent CA and just engage with our community and show them all the fun things we can do, and they're available to kind of be an ambassador to CA. So Lakefront Live, they help make it great, and it's just a really great way to show how the organization comes together and represents at the lakefront. So we're really excited to get the street team back in action. I think this is the largest we've ever had, 22 this year. So they'll be out in force every event. That's everything.
Thank you. We are really short on time, but I do want to, folks who have questions, have at it. Bill?
All right, thanks. I didn't have questions in the last round, so I figured I'd ask now. I have to say, it's kind of a sports theme, but that was unintentional. I really am thrilled with everything you guys have put together here. This was a fantastic presentation. And once again, I'm really excited about what's going to be happening as far as events in Columbia and specifically the lakefront this summer. Really quick, with all of the events going on and with a brand new screen and a brand new projector and new lighting and new sound, is it possible that we could get a World Cup event at some point? Show 1 or 2 games? Can we find some way to put it in the schedule?
Maybe, Robin, do you have any information on that?
I don't have called you.
I will caveat that Robin has been working so hard for many months to try to make this happen. She's getting close. There's no guarantees.
Okay.
She doesn't. I'd love to have her go into detail. I'm sure she'd love to go into detail about it. She's working hard. She is in touch with FIFA. But they are not as responsive as we would like them to be, right?
We are, to say working hard is an understatement. We have been talking about it through team members, what it would look like. It literally is the perfect fit to who we are as an organization, what we do. There's wellness components, there's multicultural program components, fun, social connection components, it would be perfect. It's just been a lot of back and forth with them. To be honest, I don't think they really knew. We were an organization that were looking for information on if we were to get the license to show it. can
Right.
we? And so they have all these questions about, well, what are you going to do? And are you going to have sponsors? And are the food trucks going to pay you? And so I think we're thinking a little more simply than they are. They're thinking of these bigger events. But we really, really hope to make it happen. In fact, we even have some partners at Meriwether Arts and Culture Center. If we are able to get a game, they have an LED screen for us to show the game during the day. So this has been something we've been talking about for a long time.
That's great to hear. That's, I'm so pleased. Thank you. Second really quick follow-up. With all of the event expertise we have here, and thank you for doing events after July 4th. It seems like we hold events, but things kind of get quiet. You know what I mean? I appreciate the July 11th date, and I'll be there. But two other events, the Kids Triathlon and the All-City Swim Meet, are out in the neighborhoods, are great events, but it would be great if we had the event team providing some expertise, support, something like that. Dan's probably giving me like frowny faces right now, but I think it would be interesting, given the excitement and what you guys are doing here, it would be interesting if you guys could I mean, 90% of CA is at Phelps Luck Pool for the swim meet anyway. So if you guys could show up too, that would be fantastic. Just a recommendation, maybe just something to look into. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley?
I'm excited to spend my summer at the Lakefront and go to all these events. I was curious, there's obviously so many stakeholders that are involved in it and have lots of great ideas. Are we also including the advisory groups that CA also already has, like the senior one, water one, et cetera, sort of thing, figure out how we can incorporate that? I know at least HC Cares likes to be present at a lot of things. The Cares groups, I'm sure, would be excited to get out there and spread their message. And then I was also curious about, I know we'll have the Lakefront Live website. Are we also sharing those events on the app, incorporating those?
Oh, yes, the GIS app.
Yep.
The tool, yes, we do, yes.
Awesome. Great.
Sky?
Yeah, I have two questions, but I'll just ask the easy one. What is the capacity of participants or audience members at the Lakefront?
You mean like attendance numbers?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on the type of event. July 4th, I think we've gotten results back from the county where it's exceeded 30,000. So it just depends on what type of event. I will say most of our heightened Lakefront Live events tend to range between 1,500 and 3,000, which is pretty busy. And I don't know if we want to shoot for that every weekend, that the property itself would not like that too much. But I would say on average, it's probably around 1,000 for a decent event.
And Delilah?
I've been maybe stalking the website for the Lakefront Live schedule for this summer. May 1st is when it'll drop on that new website. We'll have the whole summer there. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep.
I'm going to hop in the queue. Chris, my nerdy self, loves all the things that you described with the AV going on, so very excited. I am curious about the projector in terms of like, what do you expect its lifespan to be? And I asked that because what was the decision for a projector versus like a monitor or a Jumbotron instead?
It's mostly cost,
okay.
Honestly. The projector's life will be very prolonged. It will have to be stowed every time it's used and then brought back out. But with the screen actually now positioned in one space exactly every single time that you hit that button for it to drop, it'll be easy to set up and break down every event. So it won't necessarily be in the structure at all times, but it would take minutes to take it out of the closet and set it up. So we project the long life.
Got it. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you all. This was great.
Thank you.
Super
Thank you.
exciting.
See you at the lake.
It was great meeting you, Grace.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you too. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to move to RSO. As shared previously, this time is for residents to offer constructive, respectful input on the issues before the board. I ask that everyone follow our Code of Business Conduct and Civility policy. Personal attacks, defamatory remarks, or discriminatory language will not be tolerated. Speakers who violate these expectations may be asked to stop, forfeit their time, and could face restrictions for future meetings. Thank you for helping us maintain a space for productive and respectful conversation. And lastly, we ask that all speakers to please submit your comments through the resident speak out form online. We have one person signed up for a resident speak out tonight. Hafiz Shakai. I'm so sorry. Was I anywhere close? Say your name for me.
Hafiz.
Hafiz. Yep. Welcome. And for a group for 5 minutes.
So there's two of us. We're going to talk together. So,
very good.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Hafiz. I'm the president of the Howard County Striders. And with me is our past president, Cecilia. And we're here to share some good news with the Columbia Association. Some of you may be familiar with our organization, but I just wanted to start off by introducing the Striders to you all. Our club was founded in Columbia in the mid-1970s by a small group of runners, which then evolved into our larger organization, the Howard County Striders. We are a nonprofit organization managed 100% by volunteers. We have no paid staff. Our main objective is to keep Howard County fit and active. The Striders were present in Columbia for their 10th anniversary of their founding in 1977. We were here for the 50th anniversary in 2017. We actually held a 5-mile run in downtown Columbia for the 50th anniversary. Today, our membership includes about 1,000 households, with a major concentration of our membership in Columbia. This year, you guys were talking about your 60th in 2017, 2027. We're going to have our 50th anniversary this year, 2026. And our club will celebrate this June with our annual summer picnic. So I also wanted to take this opportunity to sort of invite the Columbia Association Board of Directors and President McManus to come out on June 28th to our picnic. The one thing that bonds our membership together in this community is that we built, is basically our community is built around the pathway system that the Columbia Association has built and maintained for our membership. So Cecilia will now present to you an award recognizing Columbia as a runner-friendly community.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Murick. I'm a past president of the Howard County Striders, and I'm here to present you with this award, the Runner Friendly Community Award. This is from the Road Runners Club of America. It's a national organization. This is an award that's given to communities that demonstrate that they have a strong collaborative commitment to making running safe and accessible and enjoyable for all. The RCA is the oldest national association of runners and running organizations in the country, and it was founded in 1958. So this program seeks to highlight communities that excel in supporting runners, promoting physical activity and quality of life. And to earn this award, the community has to be nominated. I was the nominator for our community. And demonstrate a collaboration between public and private organizations that support running. The community also has to prove that it has the infrastructure to foster physical activity in a safe environment. And Columbia, Maryland, and Howard County has earned this award for the network of pedestrian-friendly sidewalks, multi-use trails, the paths, the shareable lanes, all of which obviously support running, walking, biking, and there's also vehicle control at traffic intersections. The path network allows runners to complete well over 20 miles of distance. There are also tracks that are maintained and available for public use, which our organization, the Howard County Striders, rents and utilizes for our training programs. Additionally, we've been given this designation for the community infrastructure, which, we owe a lot of that to CA. The many water fountains, we actually sponsored when CA had the sponsorship program for the water fountains. We sponsored the water fountain that's in the Lakefront, actually, and in the Millie Bailey Park. We have also bathrooms, parking access along the trails and paths, and also the trails and paths, notably, are maintained year-round with snow removal in winter. And of course, as a female runner, I appreciate particularly that the paths are very well lit when it is dark, especially now the paths around the lakefront are beautifully lit. And we definitely have that in Columbia, of course. We are grateful as well to the Columbia Association because you guys maintain the pathways year-round. If you might be aware or not, the Monday was the Boston Marathon, and I'm certain that the local runners who raced on Monday in Boston trained along those pathways because we were
raining all winter. And so I'm certain that they would echo my thank you to you all for making it possible for us to continue to train safely, even when there's bad weather. Also, the Howard County Striders want to especially thank Sean McInnes for your letter of support for our nomination. We're really grateful to have partners like you all that believe in fostering positive relationships with individuals and organizations in the community, as we have seen in these beautiful presentations tonight. I personally believe that running has the power to bring people together and to change lives. And so I'm really, really proud that our community, Columbia and Howard County, has been awarded the special honor. So on behalf of the Howard County Striders, I want to present you with this plaque that we received from the RCA. And we also have some stickers to give to you all to display at gyms or runner-friendly businesses that you might want to highlight this designation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Much appreciated.
I don't know who I should give this to, but it's for you.
Jeremy.
Sean, Jeremy, Dan, take your pick.
Yeah, receiving them.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very much appreciated. I'm going to quickly go to our consent agenda. Is there any objection to the consent agenda as it was presented in the packets? Hearing no objection, the consent agenda is now approved. We're going to take a brief reset. The internet says it's 8:25, so I'm going to say 8:35 according to the internet. I don't know what that means for the room, but 8:35 according to the internet. See you soon. Everyone back? Alrighty. We are now going to move to old business. We'll start with the vote for the board manual creation and policies resolution. I believe there's a resolution in the packet. Is there a motion? Mike?
I move to adopt the resolution.
Mike moves the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
By Bill. Sean? John?
John can speak to it.
Yeah, this is just a continuation of the seemingly endless project to consolidate policies. We're hopefully nearing the end. These policies reflected in some way in the obsolete policies have been already approved by you as part of the new manual. So these make these policies obsolete and redundant. That's why we want to remove them. I think we're getting very close to the point where when the website is ready, we can put them on and make it much more efficient. And just to give you some idea, I think we started out a year or two ago, there were about 160 policies, and now we're down to 33. And so that's a big improvement, a lot of things that were very old. So yeah, if you could approve this, we get rid of some redundant policies and make it more efficient. And when the website is ready to go, I think we'll have much more transparent and searchable policies so that people can look and find anything they need.
Very good. Thank you. Any comments, discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the question unless there's an objection to that. Okey doke. The motion on the floor is to adopt the resolution as it was presented in the packet to consolidate the policies. Moved by Mike, seconded by Bill. A vote yes will pass that resolution as presented. Ashley?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Delilah?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Guy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 6 in favor, no oppositions. The resolution passes. Thank you very much, John and Caroline and your entire team. It was a Herculean effort, but I think it's going to be excellent moving forward. So thank you.
Justin.
I hate you. We're going to move on to our next item, which is to review the board's FY26 annual goals and future focused initiatives. Sean?
Yes, thank you. So, as you heard tonight, the two presentations tonight stole some of my thunder, but this is great. You want to hear it from them. A lot of what we're currently doing here at Columbia Association is really trying to focus on the future, not forgetting the past at all, but Columbia is now going to be 60 years old. So how do we position CA in the community such that this next generation of Columbians have a community that's vibrant and progressive, just like Jim Rouse wanted? So we're going to talk tonight, or I'm going to talk about some future-focused projects and initiatives that we have going on currently. These are all projects that are in the works in some form or fashion, so they are not, kind of waiting to be done, but they are all in the works. So what I'll cover, I'll try to be as quick as possible, but I'll give you a big picture overview of the projects that we have going on and why these projects are important. There's 21 initiatives that we have, and we've categorized them to help people in the community understand how they relate. I'll do a little bit deep dives on each of them to kind of explain why they exist and why they're important, and also how they align with our strategic plan. The board worked very hard last year to develop and approve the strategic plan. It is not something that goes up on the shelf, so I'll show you how that aligns with our strategic plan, and also the business capability model that Armsby and his team presented last month as well. So, why future-focused projects? Columbia Association's operating budget is approaching $100 million. We are a large organization. It serves 105,000 residents across 10 villages, and you know all these statistics. 3,600 acres of open space, 95 miles of pathways, 60 facilities, over 60 facilities actually, including the 23 pools, 3 fitness centers, 2 golf courses, the ice rink, the art center, et cetera. Columbia is going to be 60 years old in 2027, and of all of our facilities, over 60 facilities, the average age of those facilities is 45 years. The average lifespan of a building nowadays is 25 to 30 years. So we're at 45 years on average for our facilities. And that does not include 3 of the buildings that were built in the 1800s that I did not include. Jeremy and his team were here last month as well to talk about long-term capital planning. Just the replacement costs alone for these existing facilities, which we wouldn't do, but it is between $253 and $376 million. So this is a well-built out organization, but it's also aged. So we are a community in transition. So how do we position ourselves better for the future? So what we did was we've internally and externally had a lot of different initiatives going on. And they were all sort of future focused, and we were trying to kind of pull them together with senior leadership to say, well, how can we organize these better? We're all moving forward. How do we make sure that it's all going in the same direction and that we can explain it to the board, to internal staff, and also to the community? So we broke it down into 20 initiatives under 4 categories, and they 100% align with the strategic plan. What are those 4 categories? Governance, there's 5 initiatives. I'll talk about strengthening oversight, ethics, and decision-making. Finance, ensuring the long-term fiscal sustainability and demonstrating economic value for the community. Also, community engagement. We've got 6 initiatives under there to deepen our connections with the community through programs and access and environmental stewardship. And also just internal organizational operations. There's 7 initiatives to modernize our systems and structures and help us prepare for the future and be better leveraged to be more efficient and provide better service. Under governance, one of the major things we have going on is a planned community comparison. Oftentimes we wonder, well, Columbia is a unique community, and who are our comparables out there in the nation? Oftentimes we get compared to Reston, Virginia. We are not like Reston. We are different communities. They're both planned communities, but they're very different. And, Montgomery Village we get compared to, that's much smaller. So we're in the process of doing a planned community comparison that's going to look at how we fit in with other communities, what their structures are for operations and fees and governance. So Marty under Dan has been working on that for the past 6 months. We'll be presenting that probably over the summer. But we want to know where Columbia fits in, because if we're unique and we're the only one, then we want to promote that. Julie spoke to that. Like, how do we promote Columbia in a way that we often get awarded for being the safest community, the best place to live, but we also want to be like, where is there even a comparable community to Columbia? And if we are unique, we want to promote that. Along those lines, governance study. We have an election coming up. This is not so unique to Columbia, but participation in elections is just waning nationwide. And we're seeing a microcosm of that here, where there's just not this community engagement. So we're doing a governance study under John that's looking at what is our governance structure, how can it be more efficient, what does it do very well, and where can it be improved? So that is something that the board will see over the next 6 to 9 months of what the results of that are. Board operations, I think the board takes responsibility for this, but over the last year, the board has taken a keen look at how the board operates to be more efficient, to make the meetings more efficient, to make the content more meaningful for the community. I think you've seen a lot more participation. I think you've seen a lot in the community that they're not showing up for resident speak up, because the board's been very informative about what they're presenting. The ethics policy, I do not have to go into that, but the board made a major stride this year to update the ethics policy. You as a board made a commitment to being more accountable, and the ethics policy showed that you are committed to the integrity of the organization, and that is a big step for the board. And meeting efficiencies. The board looked at the number of meetings that were being conducted across the year and determined that less meetings would be more efficient, and we have a new meeting schedule coming up next year with 2 town halls, which is great because the town halls are building momentum. Under finance, I mentioned earlier, Jeremy and his team are in to talk about long-term capital, this analysis. We are now about to bring on a consultant to help us look at, we've looked at our existing facilities and structures and that cost to replace that. Now we're bringing in a consultant to help us look at what does the future need? What do we need? What is the community going to want in the future? What would that look like to implement? What would that cost be? And then we would work internally to develop a cost structure. In line with that, Dan presented at the last meeting the membership rate market analysis study that we're currently conducting. How do our membership rates align with the community, with our private business practices, but also how do we make it affordable for residents and non-residents? So we're looking at that to provide the best service to the community as well. Tying these two together, we want to do an economic analysis. So we've contacted Sage Consulting, which is Dr. Anirban Basu. And in discussions with them, they're excited to help us do this economic analysis, but we would need our long-term analysis done and our membership rate analysis done before they can start. The economic analysis is great because we want to look at, well, what's happening in Columbia, what's happening in Howard County, in the state, in the nation in the next 5 to 10 years. Is this a good time for CA to be investing in the future? Should we be holding off? There's a lot of flux going on right now economically in the nation, and we want to make sure that we can leverage ourselves, and if we're going to make an investment in the future, that now's the time to do it, or we should wait. Community engagement. Jeremy was here at the last meeting with his staff to give an update on natural resources management plan. That is going to be finalized next month, and that's a great update to that plan, and will provide sustainability processes for the future and help us kind of promote that to the community. Website redevelopment, Julie talked about that. This is a major overhaul to our website. It's not just a redesign. There's going to be a lot more interactivity with people that are utilizing it. It'll be more engaged with our club automation for the members. So this is a major overhaul. GIS implementation, you've seen that. We have a great GIS tool now that connects people in the community with CA and everything we have to offer. The Splash Park Recreation Area, Dan was in to present that. I will say this with the Splash Park Recreation Area, there is a lot of misinformation going around in the community right now. I highly recommend that anyone in the community, if they want information, they go to our website. They can also contact us directly. We've been very upfront about what the plan is for that, and that is really a board decision. We are just moving forward and presenting an option for the future. Jim Rouse was all about being progressive and giving the community what it wants. We understand the pools are a vital asset to the community, but also the Splash Pad Recreation Area also has some enhancements that I think the community would want, and we could go into that, but Dan went into detail about that. And we'll be revisiting that throughout the next year. So nothing is happening soon, but if people really want to get educated, they should contact us. We do want to hear from them. The CA awareness campaign, we talked about this a little bit last year. You know, this next generation of Columbians, we want to know who they are, what they want. We talk about, you know, most of the construction for housing, even though there's a lack of housing, is generally, that's being constructed now is rental housing. So there's going to be generations of Columbians that grow up in, you know, rental housing, which is great. But, you know, the first generation grew up mostly in single-family homes. We want to know, like, what if they're growing up in rental housing, what are their needs? And there's going to be a predominance of rental housing people growing up there. Do they need different things out of the community or from CA? So we want to really make sure we capture that. Julie talked about capturing a younger demographic. This is what we want to do. How do we get them to engage in the community and lay down roots? So younger people are more transient, but we want to make sure that they realize the benefits of CA and want to lay down roots and raise their families here and take advantage of what we have to offer. And lastly is the community programming expansion. The team was in here earlier to talk about that. We're really being intentional about the programming we present, the themes around that programming, trying to be inclusive of everybody in the community, and reach demographics that we generally haven't been able to reach, and also connect better with people. So this is great, a lot going on in community engagement. Our organizational operations. Armsby and his team was here last month to talk about the business capability model. This lays the foundation for everything CA does. He presented the 9 defining areas and 13 shared services that encompassed over 170 processes. So we are a large, diverse organization. And I think some people, whatever their touch point is with CA, they think that's all it is. I think Armsby did a good job to kind of articulate everything that we do on a daily basis and all the interconnectivity. And we're using that business capability model as a foundation for us to make better decisions operationally, how to leverage AI in a better way. So it's really laying that foundation, and it is a dynamic document, so we'll be updating that every year. Moving on from that, our financial ERP modernization. A $100 million organization needs a software application that can help run everything from accounting to payroll to human resources to treasury. So this is a major overhaul for our ERP. Last year we did club automation, which was the overhaul. So we don't let the staff rest for too long, right? So that was a major overhaul last year. This is a smaller group, but it'll be much improved for our efficiencies and operations internally. Organizational restructuring, you've heard me talk about that. Armsby has a new role as VP of Admin Services. Julie has been brought on as our senior leadership team. We've elevated that position to Communications and Media Director. I think you see from Julie's presentation tonight on our Unified Strategic Communications Plan, her level of skill set is focused on creating these communications plans and strategies and presenting that. And this is something I think CA has lacked in the past. And not that our other communications managers weren't great, they were, but we were lacking that communication strategy for us to be more present in the community, to make the community more aware of us. Columbia has grown, and we have a lot of competition for voices. And how do we make ourselves known, bring awareness around CA? So that's really important, and that's part of that restructuring. And also creating Grace's position, the event logistics specialist. We do a lot around programming in the community, not at the lakefront, but also in the villages, and we have 2 other lakes, so we're doing more programming around that and being more intentional about that programming. AI implementation. So I mentioned that a little bit. We're starting to look at that more, but we needed the business capability model. So, we've been working, Armsby and his team and our internal team have been looking at ways to leverage AI in a more effective way than just, say, Copilot or ChatGPT, but really what can we do? And how can we eliminate some of this redundancy or inefficiency, just like any automation? Because what we really want to do is use our staff to engage our community and have one-on-one focus and one-on-one interaction with the staff. So in my view, implementing AI does not mean eliminating staff. It means reallocating staff so they can be better service to the community and the public. Data analytics. We are big into data and data capturing. I mentioned Placer AI. You saw our presentation on that a few months ago. This uses anonymized cellular data of people in the community to tell us who's here and where are they coming from and where are they going. And why that's important to us is so we can better leverage what we're doing and what information we're presenting. I'll give you a small example. We've looked at traffic around Lake Elkhorn and Lake Kit to see what is that like. And surprisingly enough, they get the same amount of traffic on an annual basis. What's interesting is Lake Elkhorn, there's not a lot of parking around Lake Elkhorn, and where at Lake Kit, there's a lot more parking. So, rough determination, the predominance of people around Lake Elkhorn are residents. So how do we message to those people better? Like maybe we spend more time promoting election information around Lake Elkhorn. And I think most of the traffic around Lake Kit, I'm generalizing, is probably from around the area. So maybe that's a better opportunity for us to promote memberships or just promote information about Columbia Association in general. The IAT property. So the IAT director has notified the community that she'll be resigning at the end of this year. This is a vital piece of property for CA and the community, and we want to know, we look at that property with the Inner Arbor Trust to see how that can be leveraged better, if there's something CA can do to help foster that and to promote more programming through that. So we're working with IAT. And then last is the Unified Strategic Communications Plan. Julie went into that tonight, which I think is very thorough. All right, and then strategic alignment. These all align with our strategic plan and our business capability model. This is important to have consistency throughout the organization so that we all at the senior leadership level, but also the staff level, understand, yes, we have a strategic plan and these things are important. And why is the strategic plan important? Because all the decisions we base, projects and initiatives are based off the strategic plan. How do these initiatives align with our strategic plan? You can see this. The strategic focus areas, if you remember, like resource resilience, community connection, environmental sustainability, and wellness, these all align nicely with that, and we've categorized this and numbered them. Areas of emphasis that are part of the strategic plan: risk management, modernization, awareness of value and identity, DEIB, and also affordability and accessibility. You can see how these all tie in well with the strategic plan emphasis areas. The business capability model, that is a much more intricate and involved and complex model, but you can see the defining areas and shared services. A lot of what we do align nicely with that. And then lastly, just in closing, these are just our future-focused themes across the organization. And you can see this: modernization at scale, data-driven decision-making, community-centered engagement, governance strengthening, and long-term sustainability. As we approach 60, looking at the next 60 years, you're going to hear us talk a lot about that. These are vital components to make sure that we are leveraging CA in a position where we can take advantage of these things, be much more nimble, and also provide better service to the community and make Columbia a place to live and grow for future generations. So, and we say this a lot. So when Wild Lake was dedicated in 1967, Jim Rouse remarked that he hoped Columbia would never be finished, that the community would continue to develop, and that the residents who would come to call Columbia home would be actively engaged in the process. This has proven to be true, and the history of Columbia is an ongoing story. And when we talk about the next 60 years, Jim Rouse would want this. This is what he expected for the first 60 years, and this is what he wants for the next 60 years. So it's us to continue and grow and develop and change the community and give the community what they want. So,
Very good.
that's what we have.
Thank you,
A lot going
Sean.
on.
Yes, and there were a lot of hoorahs going on the board during the presentation for different lakes and villages, so that was fun. Any questions or comments or feedback for Sean? Mike?
I'll just say I'm really excited about this. This is, I think, the kind of the right time horizon for the board to be focused on of like what are we improving in the future, and I really appreciate all of the staff's efforts in being forward-leaning and driving us, having initiative and driving us towards the future instead of just trying to maintain the status quo. I'm super excited about all this. I really appreciate how well it was broken down. I do think, I'm not saying it should have been in this, but it would be helpful for the board going forward to know, like, hey, what are some, projected roadmaps for each of these initiatives that would be really helpful for just the board's understanding, I think, and the public's understanding. And then I think just for the board, traditionally, the board has gotten together at the beginning of each fiscal year and said, hey, what are our goals going to be for CA this year? And I'm not saying that we have to agree with everything that's in this plan. There's room for debate within this plan, but we will be causing churn and slowing progress on these initiatives if we, at the beginning of every year, come up with a new list of 5 things, right? We've got the plan going forward. Let's focus on how we can empower the staff to make progress on this plan instead of coming up with alternatives on a year-by-year basis when we have a plan for 60 years here.
Anyone else? Sky?
I think this is a really great presentation, and it will help us when we go back to our villages and give reports and talk about the future. We will have some details to share, so it will be very helpful. Thanks.
Anyone else? Ashley?
I appreciate the overview of the format. I think it's a lot more digestible whenever it's broken down into pieces like that. And again, like the fact that the board gets to set those strategic goals. So it's helpful to see how everything's fitting into the pieces. And then obviously all of the initiatives that CA is taking on its own.
Can I say something?
Please.
I'll just say, in closing, this senior leadership gets a lot of credit too for helping to put this together. I talked about earlier, everyone's doing things and we're going in a lot of different directions, but the senior leadership team really helps to kind of help us define these categories and these initiatives. So, on a level, the senior leadership team works really well together. I think you see that on a daily basis here. But also, I've given this presentation to, we have a managers and supervisors group, which is kind of next level down, and there's a lot of them. And they've been kind of my guinea pigs to kind of present this, but they're very excited about this. And the staff as a whole are excited about a future in planning projects and looking at these initiatives, and they're like, yeah, they're excited. So I hope the public and the community gets generally excited about kind of what that future is, because I can tell you internally the staff are very excited about these initiatives and really want to pursue them and are motivated to do that. So great. I can't thank them enough.
Any other comments, discussions, or questions for Sean? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll move to questions only for state and local legislation, IAT report, or cluster play area policy annual updates. Any questions for staff? Mike?
I'm cheating, it's not so much of a question, but the cluster play area thing, do you think the new policy is working well? Because my perception is that it is working well, and I just want to see if, especially the way that CA has been going around and engaging with villages to really make sure that they're participating in the decisions. And do you perceive that's going well? And is that success going to be kind of replicated in maybe how like the splash pad issue is going to be handled as well?
Yeah, I think your perception is accurate. I think it's been implemented really well. And it's a credit to Jason and team on the CIP crew with really actively engaging the villages well in advance in the process, having multiple meetings with the villages on concepts, answering questions from the community. If there's a particular current, hey, can we add this feature here? Being very receptive to such suggestions as that. So yeah, I think, knock on wood, it's been very successful at pretty much every village. I think we've hit 9 of the 10 so far, and we're in year 2. It's been successful for sure, and I think you can see it. The quality of the play areas, it's fantastic. I think it's been, and I'm out there when I'm, what did we do one of the ones in Long Reach, and I happened upon a birthday party because I was there afterwards because I kind of do secret shopper stuff at night, and it was fantastic. It was the busiest I think they've remarked they'd ever seen it. There were more like 2 kids having their birthday parties. There was pizza. It was highly activated, and it was because it was a new amenity to enjoy. So yeah.
Sky?
I was glad to see that IAT has its own box. For the past couple of years, I've wondered about the workings of IAT since I was no longer on that committee. And I guess we'll be looking into the future of the IAT, whether or not it's going to operate the same in the future as it has been, or temporarily, or seeking new ideas. I know we get reports and they seem very glossy and positive, but I'm wondering if we should get more details somehow periodically, like quarterly financial reports. So I'm glad to see it has its own box.
Was there an official question in there or just commentary?
Oh, shoot. It's a rhetorical question.
Very good. Okay, that works. Any other questions for questions only? Is that a yes? No? Bill?
I have a question and I have a monologue, so give me 45 seconds. Who makes a difference? Last week, Wild Lake found out that Bernice Kish, our long-serving village manager, former village manager, passed away. Bernice was a treasure in our village. She was not only a long-tenured village manager, which is an important achievement that we don't celebrate enough in Columbia, but she was a champion of the arts and found a way to take Slayton House and make it into an art center. It is a gallery, it is a dance studio, it is a place where the performing arts participate, where we have plays several days a week. It is just a great accomplishment to have made such a great facility and to put the time and the effort in. Bernice herself was an artist herself, and she will be missed. And I just wanted to note her accomplishments in Wild Lake and to the greater Columbia community. So thank you for that.
Thank you. All right. I'll move to chair remarks, and I do have remarks tonight because it is hard to believe that tonight is the last regular board meeting for FY26. We did it. Tonight really reflects the culmination of everything that we have worked on together over the past year. So I want to start by thanking our board members who are here tonight. Thank you for your participation, your engagement, your thoughtfulness, your professionalism throughout the year. CA is better because of it. To Sean and our senior leadership team, thank you all for your vision and your leadership. As we've seen tonight and throughout the year, the work happening across CA truly improves the lives of our community. every day. So, and to all the staff, whether in open space operations or at the front desk of our clubs or in customer service or across the organization, thank you for a tremendous year. And a special thank you to those staff who have taken the time to come before the board, share your work after and beyond the workday. It does not go unnoticed, and it is greatly appreciated. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve as chair this past year, and I'm looking forward to whatever is ahead. And just as a reminder to our neighbors across Columbia, Election Day is Saturday, so I encourage everyone to participate in your village and elections and for the Columbia Council elections. So those are my remarks. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Good job to Colin as chair. You did an excellent job this year, so thank you for that. And I move to adjourn.
Is there any objection? At 9:06, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.